first sound wasn't supposed to exist in that place. Not there. Not in the Galactic Council spire. Silence was law inside its core chamber, the kind of engineered silence that swallowed thought before it could become disruption. A silence layered over millennia of negotiations, genocides, treaties, and civilizations rewritten with a single vote. Even movement felt muted beneath the colossal dome of the verdict sphere, where reality itself was subtly corrected to ensure no species ever forgot who held balance. And then, a laugh. Human. Unfiltered. Uncontained. It didn't arrive like speech or translation. It arrived like a fracture in expectation. A sharp, brief burst of sound that cut through 10,000 overlapping diplomatic fields and made them hesitate, as if unsure whether they were allowed to acknowledge it. At first, no one reacted, because the Council did not process impossible as a category, only unknown threat or system error. And laughter, true laughter, was not supposed to fit either. But it echoed again, not repeated, just lingering, as if reality itself had paused a fraction too long before deciding whether to erase it. Every species in the chamber felt it differently. The Varn collective registered it as an acoustic anomaly that temporarily disrupted hive synchronization. The Thalrex Dominion flagged it as psychological warfare prelude. The synthetic minds of the Nine Protocol labeled it non-random emotional emission preceding systemic instability. And humanity's lone envoy, standing beneath the vast curve of the verdict sphere, simply lowered his head and exhaled through a faint smile, as if he had just seen something absurdly predictable unfold. Captain Elias Mercer had not intended to break protocol, but the Council chamber had a way of making everything feel like protocol was already broken, just politely waiting for permission to admit it. Around him, reality tightened. Holographic star maps flickered. Orbiting fleet diagrams outside the spire stuttered in their synchronized surveillance loops. Somewhere beyond the chamber walls, entire armadas paused mid-alignment, their targeting systems recalibrating without command, as if something in the universe had briefly stopped behaving according to expectation. The laughter should have ended instantly. Instead, it survived. And survival was the most dangerous quality anything could have in this place. A dozen Council observers shifted in their levitation seats, not out of amusement, not out of curiosity, but out of something far older and more instinctive, something that predated language, recognition of unpredictability. Because unpredictability, in the Galactic Council's history, had never once meant harmless. The chamber's ambient light adjusted itself automatically, dimming a fraction as containment protocols silently engaged. No alarm sounded. No declarations were made. The Council did not announce danger. It simply prepared for the removal of its cause. Still, the human did not move, and neither did the laughter disappear quickly enough. Outside the spire, the void remained still, black, infinite, indifferent. But for the first time in recorded Council observation, multiple external sensor arrays reported a synchronized anomaly. Not a ship, not a weapon, but a response. As if something vast beyond the scope of fleets had noticed the sound and found it interesting enough to listen. The Galactic Council spire was not built. It was assembled from consequences. Each layer of an impossible architecture floated in geosynchronous alignment around the Orion Nexus, suspended by technologies no single species fully understood anymore. Some said it was gravity manipulation refined beyond physics. Others claimed it was anchored to the memory of collapsed universes. Whatever the truth, one fact remained constant. Nothing entered the spire without being seen, measured, and judged long before arrival. Inside, the air itself felt curated, not natural, not alive. It carried no scent, no temperature variance, no permission for randomness. Every breath taken within the grand chamber was filtered through harmonic stabilizers designed to prevent emotional escalation across species. Even thought patterns were partially synchronized through passive translation fields, ensuring that no one was ever truly alone with confusion. And yet, beneath all that control, humanity stood slightly out of place. Captain Elias Mercer. He was not the tallest in the chamber, not the most armored, not the most enhanced. Compared to the towering Threx emissaries, the crystalline veil intelligences, or the shifting biomasses of the core collective, he appeared almost unfinished, like something still in progress rather than finalized design. But that was what made the Council uneasy. Humans were never fully readable. Mercer stood at the designated envoy position beneath the verdict sphere, a colossal suspended construct at the chamber's center, rotating slowly like a captured thought. It was said to contain the accumulated legal consciousness of 1,000 civilizations, constantly rewriting itself based on observed intent and predicted consequence. When it activated, entire star systems had been reclassified without debate. Today, it watched him, not metaphorically, statistically. Across the chamber, thousands of eyes, lenses, sensory nodes, and neural receivers were directed toward Earth's sole representative. Humanity had arrived late in galactic history, barely a blink compared to species that had been expanding for millions of cycles. And yet, within decades of contact, they had earned something far more dangerous than respect. Attention. Mercer felt it like pressure behind the ribs, not physical force, but the weight of being evaluated by minds that had already decided most species' outcomes before they finished speaking. He adjusted his stance slightly, not in fear, not in confidence either. Something quieter, habitual, like a man standing in a room where everyone else had already agreed on the rules, except him. Outside the spire's translucent walls, the Council's observation fleets drifted in synchronized orbit, hundreds of war-capable civilizations maintaining silent vigilance. Their presence was not supposed to be threatening. It was diplomatic security. But everyone in the chamber knew what that meant. Peace enforced by the certainty of annihilation. The verdict sphere pulsed once. A soft, almost imperceptible shift in illumination. Data streams cascaded across its surface. Biometric scans, historical aggression modeling, psychological prediction trees. Humanity's profile updated in real time as Mercer stood motionless beneath it. Unknown outcome classification, probability of compliance, insufficient data, threat potential, and nonlinear. That last line caused subtle recalibration across multiple council factions. Nonlinear threats were the ones that did not follow escalation logic, the ones that did not react as expected, the ones that could not be deterred because they did not behave according to deterrence models. Mercer looked up briefly at the sphere, as if aware of its attention. And then he smiled, not aggressively, not mockingly, just humanly. The chamber did not react immediately. It took a fraction of a second longer than it should have for the systems to categorize that expression. And in that delay, something unintentional slipped into the room. Uncertainty. The Galactic Council did not fear power. It feared anything that refused to be calculated. And humanity, standing quietly beneath the verdict sphere, surrounded by civilizations that had mastered war across galaxies, was beginning to look less like an unknown species, and more like an exception reality had forgotten to explain.